We can use marker pens to add layers of information to our design work. In this case, I'm using markers to suggest these 3D shapes are made from natural timber. As always, it's good to build shapes with construction lines. Here I'm using a black pen with permanent ink, so I can use marker pens over the top without any risk of the work smudging or bleeding. Construction lines enable the designer to work quickly and without pressure to produce clinical and accurate work. Carefully produced design work can often look lifeless and be unimaginative, and our ideas quickly dry up when we're focusing upon the look of our page rather than the ideas contained within it. The most effective designers commit their thoughts to paper quickly and without fear of those thoughts being judged as artwork. Having put down an outline to work within, the key to using marker pens for representing natural timber is to be relaxed about laying down the base layer. This should be done without too much care or attention to detail, because the uneven coverage of the ink will best represent the natural appearance of wood. It's worth thinking about the position of the light source and keeping the ink thinner where the light would be hitting the shape. This can be done by either moving the pen across the paper more quickly or by reducing the pressure of the pen on the paper. It's important to remember that I'm sketching here, with the intention of communicating my ideas quickly to my client or for recording them for later use. I'm absolutely not aiming to produce photorealistic sketches. That would be a poor use of my time and would slow my productivity and inhibit my creativity. To keep my progress swift and my design work fresh and creative, I'm not too concerned about staying within the lines as I apply the marker pen. It's more important to fill the shape quickly and to keep the edge of the ink wet as I work across the shape. If I work too slowly, the layers of colour will look patchy and inconsistent. Once I've put down a base coverage of ink, I'll go back over my shapes with the next layer. It's important to note that the ink takes a little time to dry, and I want to wait until the paper is no longer wet and has the capacity to take more ink before I attempt to put down subsequent layers. If I don't wait for 30 seconds or a minute between layers, the paper will become saturated and I'll start to lose control over the effect the marker pen has. Adding further layers of marker pen to these sketches is building a depth of colour that will help represent the natural timber. I'm still thinking of the position of the light source as I'm applying the ink. I'm intending that the areas which will be most hit by the light source will be the lighter ones. This will increase the three-dimensional look of my work. Again, I'm happy to be approximate with this. I'm not worrying too much about straying over any of the boundaries of my shapes. I'll be able to tidy some of this up later, and it adds to the character of my design work. One of the most significant features of natural timber is its grain. We tend to see the grain from two angles. We see the side grain and the end grain. I'm using a darker marker pen and I'm using the thinner nib here to draw the side grain. The lines run along the length of the shape and we can show details such as knots at this stage. The application of these lines by hand and without a ruler helps us to replicate the natural look of wood grain. Here I'm drawing Endgrain. Endgrain is a series of growth rings. These are the concentric rings we see when we look down on top of a tree stump. The shapes I'm drawing show a section of the endgrain, so you don't ever see the complete circles. The combination of the two colours of marker pen can look a little flat at this stage, so I'm adding some detail with a white pencil crayon. I'm running the pencil between the darker lines I've just added as grain. This lifts the grain and gives a more three-dimensional look to the representation of the natural wood. This can be done with a lighter brown colour or a yellow, depending on the look you want to achieve. Now I'm applying the side and end grain to my first shape. Whilst this should be done with care, working quickly will enable the designer to keep his or her work fresh and dynamic. In nature, the end grain and side grain meet up at the corner of a block of wood. Whilst it's okay to try and draw this, it's important to remember that we're simply representing wood, so the priority is to work quickly. Finally, I'm using cast shadows to anchor the designs to my page. This helps to give the shapes an added weight and a level of realism that they'd miss without them. I hope you found this video useful. If you have, don't forget to subscribe and remember to hit the notifications tab to hear of my next videos. You'll find lots more on my channel and there's plenty of new material on the way. Leave your feedback below, and for a look behind the scenes, find me on Instagram at Product Designer Maker. You'll find out what I'm working on and get an idea of my other pursuits. Thanks for watching.